Hey y'all, welcome back to the Praying Single Mom podcast, a podcast with the intention of bringing ease to Christian single moms all over the world as we discuss weekly real life issues such as parenting, mental health, childhood trauma, domestic violence, and much more. I'm your host, Lekeshia Cody. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Praying Single Mom podcast. I hope you ladies are doing well. So tonight's podcast episode the title is Their Inability to See Your Worth. And we're talking about relationships or situationships or just anything that you may be in with someone, whatever that is. And I know you guys have probably heard this quote. You see it all the time. I know I do. That says that your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. A lot of times we see these quotes, but they never hit home until you're actually going through something similar. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if you've ever been in a situationship or a relationship where you literally felt like you were begging someone to love you, or you were putting in something or giving something and they were not doing the same. Or have you ever been with someone and they made a comment or a statement that you're just too good for me, you deserve better, I can't give you what you're giving me, all of those different type of things, whatever it is. What I will tell you, ladies, is to begin to take things for what they are and not for what you want them to be. And when people show you who they are, believe them. When people tell you who they are, believe them. If you are not careful, you'll be in a situation to where you're trying to force someone to love you, or you're trying to force someone to see your worth. And then you'll end up feeling super low. You'll end up feeling super down. But you got to understand this. When they say things like, you're too good for me, or that's just pretty much them telling you what they are not willing to do. At the end of the day, trust me, if someone shows up in front of them with $1 million, are they going to say, that's too much money for me? I don't have the capacity for it right now. No, they're going to take it. They're going to take it. Everything is a choice. It really is. And I want you to understand that it has nothing to do with who you are. It has nothing to do with how good you are, or even how good you may think you are not. It has everything to do with them. What they're doing is being honest in that situation. And so you have to begin to believe them. Believe them. Stop saying things like, oh, they don't mean it, or they really do like me, they just don't know how to show it. Or just stop making excuses for them, because at the end of the day, you will be the one getting hurt. But what I want you to take away from this is that just because they cannot see your worth or how valuable you are or what you bring to the table, and truth be told, they can see it. And honestly, it just may not be for them. And so sometimes you really got to thank God for the rejection and understand that rejection is redirection. You got to understand that you don't want anyone that does not want you. And even if they want you a little bit and they're not willing to go the extra mile or put in the effort that you are putting in, you don't want to be in a half blanked relationship. Okay. You don't want to be in a half blanked situationship. First of all, you don't want to be in a situationship acting like somebody's girlfriend. They're all in all, they're everything, because at the end of the day, they are going to continue to do what you allow them to do. If you're in a situationship and you don't demand commitment, they're not going to give you commitment. And then you'll be upset and hurt when they eventually move on with someone else. And because she has standards and she's like, I'm not going to kiss you, I'm not going to have sex with you, I'm not going to spend a night with you until you show some type of commitment. And because she came to the table with standards and boundaries and she stood on business, they are committing to her. But because you don't want to stand on boundaries and stand on business, and just understand that just because they're giving you something doesn't mean that you have to accept it. A lot of times we are in situations and we stay in situations, we tolerate situations off of the strength of we don't want to be alone. We like the attention. We need to have somebody hitting our phone. We need to have somebody saying that they miss us and all of those things. But at the end of the day, it could be empty. All of that stuff can be empty. It can be empty promises. You need to be asking, like, where's this relationship going? What are we even doing? Right? Honestly, at the end of the day, I believe when you start getting into that question, what are we even doing? Sometimes to me, that can be a red flag, because that person, your partner, they should definitely be intentional from the jump. They should come knowing what they want. And even before you guys decide to date, or even before you guys decide to take the relationship up a notch. I talk about the phases of dating in a few podcast episodes back. You definitely should go check it out. But even before you guys move on to that level, you both should be intentional about what you want to do. I think we end up getting hurt when we make a decision to get in situationships, and then we try to, because we don't fall in love, we try to force the other person or beg them to see our worth, because we don't want to let them go, because we are the ones that fell in love. And honestly, they could love you, but they're just not willing to put forth the effort or the energy or the same kind of energy that you are putting into the relationship. So if you find yourself the one that's always going above and beyond to reach out, to communicate, to express how you feel, all the different type of things, making suggestions, doing all of these things, but they are not doing the same for you, it could be a sign that you are in a relationship or a situationship with someone who is leading you on. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Or they can see your worth. They know that you are a woman of value, but you may just not be the person for them. They may still be trying to go after someone else or whatever it may be. Some people just don't have the capacity or the space to receive all of who you are, right? And so I think a lot of times I hear women, they are so hard on themselves. I've actually been there myself, and I remember this situation so vividly, and I remember questioning the person that I was in a situationship with, or whatever it was. We were not in a committed relationship, but I fell in love with this person, and I fell in love with the idea of having a relationship. We were saying, I love you. We were acting like we were a couple, yet, of course, I had not met their family. We hadn't really went on any real dates or anything like that. So all of those things were kind of red flags, honestly, now that I'm talking about it, because we just didn't really make it outside of phone conversations or car meetings and all of those different type of things. But I remember us having a conversation, and I was asking questions about where we stood, and I remember them telling me, like, or asking me, why do you think so lowly of yourself? And I said, it's not that I think lowly of myself. And that's when I was like, I know who I am. I know what I bring to the table. I know that I'm a woman of value. Now, whether you can see it or not, it has nothing to do with me. And I was honestly so proud of myself in that moment, because before I would attach myself to how that person felt about me. And so, like I told them, I was like, I could be a premium package delivered to the wrong door. And because it was not you who ordered me, I wouldn't be able to serve you. I'm going to say that again. You can be a premium package delivered to the wrong door. And because they didn't order you, they didn't desire you in the first place, you wouldn't be able to serve them, right? But they'll keep you because you're all pretty, shiny, and new. But initially, you were not who they ordered. And so that's when we have to begin to detach our worth, who we are as women, from their inability to see it. Because they'll say, oh, you know, you're such a beautiful woman. I love your personality. I love your character. I love all of these different things about you. Okay, if that's the case, then why aren't you pursuing me? Why you're not putting the same energy? Why you're not invested in this as much as I am? And sometimes they'll lead you on, or they like the idea of having you around, but it won't ever be enough. And there's this song that says, I'm not asking for too much, I'm just asking the wrong person. And of course, there's another quote that says, you'll never be enough for the wrong person. Because whatever you offer, you can keep giving them this and this and that, more love, more money, more time, whatever it is, it will never be enough because they're just may not be your person, right? And so you just definitely want to keep that in mind. If you've ever opened up to someone about how you were feeling, because this thing leads to heartbreak for sure. It does lead to heartbreak because they are not going to remove themselves from the situation. Most likely they wait on you to do it because they like the idea of having you around. It feels good. You keep them company, but most likely they won't remove themselves. You would have to do it. And once you open up to them and then they start making comments like, you're too good for me, I don't deserve you, you deserve someone else, all of these different type of things, believe them. And so, like, have you ever even had those conversations, you're too good for me, and then you forgive them, you fall for them because they're being open and vulnerable, you start enabling that behavior, and then things would get better for a few days, but sure enough, everything would go back to normal, a rinse and repeat until the relationship ends, because it's just a cycle, right? And so why do they say things like, you're too good for me, or I don't deserve you? Normally there are two main reasons for this. Number one, they are just not willing to work for the relationship. When you've lost interest, or are you still exploring your options, or you're just not ready to commit to the relationship, or you're still pursuing someone else, you'll throw this excuse around to both flatter your partner and draw pity from them, right? You're too good for me, right? Of course it's going to draw pity from them. Of course it is. Honestly, it's a sly tactic that softens the heart. It softens your heart because you're like, oh, thank you for being honest, or thank you for telling me that I'm too good for you. But honestly, it's a backhanded compliment, to be honest, right? It really is. Like, it makes you question yourself. It makes you question whether or not you're demanding too much. Are you doing too much? Are you being too all over them? All of these different things. And then you start to look at yourself and wonder what it is that you are doing wrong, when at the end of the day, they are just not willing to work for the relationship because it's something that they don't want. And in that case, they should definitely leave you alone. But 9 times out of 10, they won't. The second reason behind that is that they truly do believe that they are not worthy of your love, right? Because when you're messing with someone that you feel like, they may be out of your lead, or you feel extremely lucky, you feel like you won the lottery, you feel like it's too good to be true. But once things start to get more serious, they start to back away because they feel like they can't live up to who you are or what it is that you have to offer, or they feel like, it's just something that they're not ready for. So sometimes it can be really, really true that they are not ready for this. And even in that, guys, you do not want to force someone to commit to you, because listen, I'm telling you, the relationship will not end well. You don't ever want to feel like you have to force someone. You just don't, right? But you got to understand too that not all relationships are balanced. So that's why I kind of hate that saying that you're too good for me or you too perfect for me, because if you really wanted that relationship, you'll understand that not all relationships are balanced. We'll never be on the same wave all the time. I say all the time that relationships are like ATM. One season, one person is making the deposit. The next season, the other person is making the withdrawal. So healthy relationships are constantly evolving. You have to grow and be willing to work through things. And some people will just not. And I will say that some people are going through their own things personally. And when they tell you that they are not ready for a relationship, you need to respect that, because you don't want them to grow resentment because they told you that they are not ready, and you still wanted to mess around with them. And now you guys are in a situation a year or two later, they're like, man, I told you that I wanted to work on myself and I didn't get the opportunity to do that. So no more forcing or begging people to commit to you. We definitely got to be done with that, right? But I definitely want you guys to understand that you need to know your value, what you offer, what you bring to the table, what you're going to tolerate, what you're not willing to put up with. You got to know that. You got to know that initially, and you got to get to the point where you are standing on business. You got to get to the point where it's just like, I'm not going to settle for less than best. I'm not going to settle, right? Know that rejection does not mean that you are not good enough. I'm going to say this again. Rejection, be thankful for it. Rejection is God's redirection. For whatever reason, you are not right for someone else. A lot of times you be like, oh my God, I built him or her up just for them to go be with somebody else. Let them, honey, let them. If you are not right for someone else, you got to be willing to be okay with that and understand that God has a person for you that's going to see you for you. They're going to be willing to get in the dirt with you. They're going to be patient with you. They're going to be kind. They're going to see who you are, and they're going to be willing to just go through different stages of life with you. They're not going to be giving you all of these excuses about, oh, you're not on my caliber, or you're not on my level, or I'm not on your level, or you too good. All of these different type of things. The person that God has for you will understand that relationships are a process, and it's a choice, right? So that decision is up to them. It's easy to get hung up on the whys behind why they made that decision, and you start looking at yourself crazy in the mirror, but don't dwell on it, because it doesn't change the reality. If you aren't right for someone else, they just aren't right for you, and they're just not your person, right? Come on, move on. Let it go. Get that experience. Take that L, whatever it is. Actually, just be okay with it, right? Get rid of the scarcity mindset behind meeting the right person. Or you might feel like you gave them everything and you like, I don't want to do this again. It hurts too bad. No, there are so many people in this world, and you got to understand that there is somebody who's going to love your company, who's going to just love your presence, who's going to love every single thing about you. You got to remain hopeful. You have to remain hopeful, right? And you also got to develop and maintain the belief that you are already whole without someone else. Rather than looking for your other half, you got to fulfill you or to make you feel better. You got to be okay with being alone first. You got to be okay with being by yourself first. You got to be okay with that. Like, you got to be okay with it, right? And so some of us, we just got to begin to work on our self-worth. Now, I know I said I'm going to talk about understanding and being identify when someone is leading you on. But I'm going to do that in another podcast episode. But I hope this episode blessed you guys. And if you ladies are dealing with someone who is just clearly, they're not giving you what you're giving, and they made it clear to you that they are not ready for a serious relationship. They are not ready for commitment. They don't want to, but they won't leave you alone. And because they won't leave you alone, you won't leave them alone. You really, really, really need to take a step back and say, why am I messing with someone that already told me they don't really want me, right? And so I'm just praying for you. I'm praying for your heart. I'm praying for your mind. I'm praying that God will give you the discipline to do what he's told you to do, because he don't want you in anything that does not want you, and he definitely doesn't want you in anything that he didn't call you to be in. All right, guys, you guys be blessed.